A new report's found that intelligence communities regularly distort their own findings to fit into the political policies of the administration in power. And they're doing it for both Democrats and Republicans, and they've been doing it for generations, haven't they?
Yes, they have.
Pick up this story.
So what the folks at The Intercept found via this new RAND study that came out was that it doesn't matter who was in the White House. And it actually, what they said is it kind of turns the tables on the whole deep state theory, which is the intelligence community is not necessarily the deep state. It is the person in the White House. Because specifically, they looked at both the Trump years and the Obama years, and they found that what the intelligence community actually had, the real intelligence, ran counter to what the administration's narrative of the day was. With Obama, they found all this horrible stuff about Russia, but he was trying to make peace with Moscow, open up relations. So they went to him and said, okay, it's not that bad. Things are actually pretty good. They left all the real intelligence of the horrible things Putin was doing behind and just told him, hey, they love your policies. You're doing wonderful. Good job, Mr. President.
And then when they needed it, when Hillary Clinton lost the election, and they had to say, well, God, that's because of the Russians, they turned all that. But that was driven by the White House is the point.
Yeah, and with Trump, it was with the Khashoggi murder.
Exactly.
He wanted to normalize relations with Saudi Arabia. They had all this intelligence that they murdered Khashoggi.
Murdered him, dismembered him while the prince was sitting there watching it on television.
Yeah.
And so the agency comes out and says, well, we can't be sure. Yeah. We don't know. The we don't know is always the safe haven,
right.
Isn't it? We don't know. But we do know this. We know that soulless, shameless psycho Cheney manipulated the intelligence organizations to verify that, yes, we need to go bomb the hell out of Iraq that had nothing to do with 9/11. They manipulated they manipulated all the agencies. And those agencies came to Cheney and Bush at that point and said, well, what is it you want? Well, we want weapons of mass destruction. It was an absolute lie. The agency knew it was a lie. I mean, the articles that are coming out, books that are coming out now say, yeah, we knew it was a lie. We knew when we showed up at the UN and talked about these tubes that it was all bullshit.
Tubes.
We knew that. But that is manipulation. That's the kind of manipulation we're talking about.
Yeah.
And Cheney was able to kill 1 million people. This soulless freak of a person was able to kill 1 million people by manipulating these gutless wonders at the CIA and the NSA and the FBI. That's the headline to this story, I think.
Yeah, and I think it created a bit of a culture change within those agencies. Rather than Cheney having to direct them, make your intelligence fit around this, they learned. And the generation that came up after them that did serve in Obama and Trump administrations, they knew, okay, rather than us having to be told to cook the intelligence, let's cook it first.
Is he still alive, by the way? Is he still? The last time they gave him a pig heart or some kind of mechanical heart. He's like Darth Vader, Is he still alive?
He is.
I mean, my God, what does it take for this guy just to move on? The ugliest story in American history was the product of the very concept in the story.
Yep.
That is the White House manipulating intelligence. In 1 million people, 1 million deaths, because this shameless psychopath freak, Cheney, took advantage of that and said, yeah, we need to invade Iraq, even though he knew it was an absolute lie.
Yep.
A popular heart pump used on cardiovascular patients has now been linked to dozens of deaths and possibly hundreds of injuries, but the FDA refuses to pull the device from the market. No surprise to me. I mean, how many times have we said, yeah, you got an organization that doesn't work. The FDA is dysfunctional. Now, lay the case out. Lay this out, and let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, this is involving the Impella heart pump, which is a small little device that they implant into the heart of heart patients undergoing surgery. It's a temporary implant. It does not stay in permanently. And what the FDA has found over and over and over again is that this thing is tearing the walls of the heart. And when that happens, I think it's 80 to 90% fatality rate.
You will die.
Yeah.
There's no question, you will die. And is there an alternative? Yes, there's something called a balloon pump. They don't need this thing that they put in the heart. It ends up, as you can imagine, it tears into the artery. Yeah. Once it tears in the artery, you cannot stop the bleeding there on the operating table.
They have minutes to act before it's death.
Okay, you're going to think I'm making this up right now, but you read this story.
Yes.
Viewers are going to think I'm making this up, but it's right here in the story. The FDA said, oh, we have the solution. Let's put somewhere in the warnings that this might happen. This is a warning to the doctor. It's not a warning to the patient. The warnings are this big, okay? So the patient's supposed to say, well, let me see all the warnings. No patient does that, especially when they're under anesthesia and they decide we're going to use this thing. This is the mentality of the FDA. They are so owned and operated by the pharmaceutical industry that it's beyond belief. And so medical device industry, same thing. And they're all looking for another job, Farron. They all want to say, oh yeah, well, let's give these people a pass. Let's let them keep using this thing that's killed, 46 people?
Yeah.
46 people have died. Other people have barely gotten away with their lives. And they say, well, we're going to keep it out there because these, what we call key opinion leaders from Harvard or Yale and Princeton are out there on the speech circuit saying, well, this isn't so bad. And all you have to do is ask yourself this. There's already something on the market that prevents this. It's called the balloon pump. It does exactly what this thing's supposed to do, okay? But the FDA says, no, there's no risk here because we're going to warn, somewhere in the warnings is this issue. The patient has no way of knowing that, right. Has no way of saying, doc, wait a damn minute. Don't put this in my heart, right?
Yeah, and another thing about it too is the FDA does what they usually do. They say, okay, we know it's killing people. We're going to slap our warning on there. And when the public comes asking about it, we're going to say, we need more studies.
Yes.
We need more time. And in that time, people will die.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. And you have cardiovascular surgeons before the warning was put on that have now spoken to the press that said,
we told them
I won't use it because of how dangerous this is. So,
and we told them it was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you have these medical whores or science whores that are coming from Harvard and Yale and Princeton. They pay them $1 million and they say, Doc, would you go out and talk about how brilliant this is and how important this is? And of course they sign up. Yeah, I'll be glad to do it for $1 million because I'm only making $250,000. But I'll say any damn thing for $1 million.
Yep.
That's what's happening in that case.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, the FDA is not going to fix it because they're dysfunctional. I mean, the FDA doesn't work. And we believe it works, but it doesn't. Right. Just like the EPA and SEC, it doesn't work.
Ring of Fire founder and host of America's Lawyer, Mike Papantonio, has a new book, came out this week, called Suspicious Activity. Like his other books before it, this book actually deals with real legal cases that Mike Papantonio has handled, but in a fictionalized way. The book follows the character of Nick Dichotomous that Papantonio first introduced in his book Law and Disorder, and it carries on the story that began in Law and Disorder through Law and Vengeance, Law and Addiction, Inhuman Trafficking, and now Suspicious Activity. This book in particular deals with the financial institutions that have helped launder money for terrorist organizations, which of course is a topic we have covered extensively here on Ring of Fire. So, if you're a follower of Mike Papantonio's books, or if this is your first one, you can get your copy of Suspicious Activity now. Just go to MikePapantonio.com and place your order. And if you haven't already, check out Mike's other books, also available on MikePapantonio.com.